This episode of the Nerf Herder Council is brought to you by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download.
Hi, this is Joseph Williams, son of John Williams, and you are watching the Nerf Herder Council.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking Nerf herder!
You can't use that word. Only we can use that word.
You're tuned in to the Nerf Herder Council, your source for Star Wars opinion, conversation, and debate. Featuring your hosts, JT.
Stormtrooper armor deflects everything except oarback hooves. They're like a horse version of Thomas the Tank Engine.
AJ.
Yeah, Rebels is a lot like our show, where we think we have a good idea and then it just fails in execution.
On this episode of the Nerf Herder Council, we're using maximum effort, hiding the cure to blindness under the floorboards, and giving our review of the new film Deadpool and Wolverine. Spoiler alert, there will be spoilers in this episode. This is the Nerf Herder Council. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. I am your host, JT. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, both our pages and also the pages of the Virtual Cantina Network. We are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. If you are watching on YouTube, please remember to click that like button, click that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so that you are notified every time we go live. If you are looking for video replays of the show, just check out our YouTube channel. If you are looking for audio replays of the show, just Google Nerf Herder Council Podcast. And guys, if you want customizable Nerf Herder Council swag, go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. And if you would like to get Virtual Cantina Network, just go to tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina. Without further ado, let me bring on the Dopinder to my Deadpool. Or is it the other way around? I guess we'll find out. My brother AJ with...
Oh, you're asking the hard-hitting questions right off the bat, man.
I had to. What the hell, you know? So, by the way, we are live on Patreon. I didn't see that in the private chat. So we are live on Patreon as well. So
I figured that out.
Nice job. Nice job.
So yeah, we are now live on 6 platforms at once. Could have been the 7th, actually. We don't stream to my Facebook page, but hey, why not? We'll conquer social media one page at a time.
One page at a time, exactly. All right,
it might take us a while, but we're getting there.
So, all right, before we get to tonight's topic, I have to call you out on something.
Yes.
So, you really screwed up by not going to the Sammy Hagar show the other night. I don't care what it cost. Dude, I'm telling you, you missed an ungodly great show. It was awesome. The only downer
keep that
was
audience riveted, buddy. Go right off topic.
I'm just saying. So yeah, that's you definitely screwed the pooch on that one. The only downer was the PA went out the front of house during right at the beginning of Seventh Seal, which is like one of the couple songs I really wanted to hear. And so that one was played with you could only hear the stage volume. And of course the guys don't know because they've got in-ear monitors. Mm-hmm. And because it took them a while to fix it, we did get a cappella Cabo Wabo. So we were singing along with Sammy, just the crowd, which was fun. But because they had to kill time
that's
fixing
the price of admission right there.
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, it cost us right now because they skipped that because of all the time it took to get the PA back up and running. But other than that, it was fantastic. And I was thinking the whole time, like, man, AJ should have ponied it up. But you didn't, and maybe they'll extend the tour. So there we go. Kale McLeish, good to see you. Says, "G'day. Please don't let this be fantastically spoiler heavy. I don't see the movie till Sunday." Kale, I apologize, but we are going to have spoilers tonight. So,
it's
also, I almost forgot to mention the views of the Nerf Herder Council do not necessarily match those of the Virtual Cantina Network, and there might be some bad language on this episode. So if you're not into that sort of thing, turn this shit off right now.
Yeah, I don't know what you're doing watching an episode about anything Deadpool if you're offended by bad language.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right, Kale, one Van Halen question. That's it, because it's a quick one. Oh, sweet. A second Van Halen episode. No, it's not. Now, answer the question. How much DLR was actually on this Best of All Worlds tour? 3 songs. Panama, Jump, and Ain't Talking About Love. And
yeah, the usuals. Okay.
Yeah, well, Mikey sang Ain't Talking About Love, but it was... The set list was just killer. If you guys want to look it up, it was absolutely killer. So, but we are not here to talk about Van Halen. I did that after the show on my other podcast at like 12 or 12:30 when I got home and was kind of drunk. So, my instant show reviews over there. But yeah, we are here to talk about Deadpool versus Wolverine, or Deadpool and Wolverine, excuse me. And we're also
let's face it, there's your non-spoiler section. A lot of the movie is Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Yeah. if you're paying to see Deadpool and Wolverine fight, you are going to get your money's worth.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, hey, look at this. Okay. Our buddy Sherrick, you remember him? He was on the show just a couple weeks ago. He says, love you guys. Hope you had fun and loved all the movies as much as I did. Deadpool and Wolverine is great. Loved it. Sherrick, congratulations on your engagement. He just got engaged, I think, yesterday or earlier today at the top of a lighthouse in North Carolina, I want to say. So congratulations, man.
That is such a beautiful thing to do. I love that. I'm so glad. 1, congratulations on your engagement. Yep. 2, very savvy to do it there. So if she says no, you just throw yourself off.
Perfect location, right? See, it's cool too because
no. Yeah.
Yep. See ya. Yep. Look at that. He says, she's so, thanks, brother. She's so lucky.
Or continuing with the previous conversation, maybe she's the woman.
Oh, could be. Look at that. Yeah, his fiance is really, really cool. So that's awesome for him. So yeah. So I will say right off the bat to get things rolling. This is definitely my third favorite of the movies of the Deadpool trilogy. However, that doesn't mean that I didn't love it. So I just liked the other ones a little better. And I think it's probably because, my feelings on the whole multiverse thing are very, we've beaten that into the ground. But I mean, even that notwithstanding, they kind of simplified the multiverse thing in this. So I liked that.
I think the movie title is perfect. This is Deadpool and Wolverine. This is not Deadpool 3. If you're going into it expecting another movie just like the first 2 Deadpools, that's not what this is. This is Deadpool in a Marvel movie.
Well, I can see that, but I go to the
break this up into spoiler, non-spoiler. Like, do we want to tell Kale to piss off at some point just so you don't ruin it for him?
We never phrase it to Kale as pissing off. Sherrick, she said you're pretty cool too. That's awesome. Love you, Barbie. See, it's hard. It's hard for me to quantify it. I mean, you're not wrong saying it's Deadpool in a Marvel movie, but I feel like that might be an oversimplification or somewhat misleading because I go into the Deadpool movies for the gore, the humor, and those 2 things. Awesome fight scenes, and it has all of that. So it was really funny all the way throughout. Obviously, you got some incredible fight scenes, and of course,
combat levels of gore.
Yeah, the opening credits are like a splatter fest. You know what I mean? Like it was awesome. So
all right. Hot topic question right off the bat. Best credits ever in a Deadpool movie?
Oh yeah.
I mean, Deadpool 1 is outstanding. Deadpool 2 is like a James Bond kind of ripoff.
Yeah, but it's like written by some douchebag or whatever. Like, yeah.
But this one, this might be the winner.
Oh, I think definitely. I think just because of what he's doing during that, like what he's using as a weapon, it's just awesome.
Yeah, in the Lego community, we call that nice parts usage.
Yes, right. Our buddy John Phillips is tuning in. Good to see you, man. He says, "I promise not to be negative Nancy tonight." That's good, man. It's hard to be negative with this movie. Yeah, you know what we should probably say though, AJ, for people who haven't seen the movie.
No, I don't.
Okay. Nice. So if you guys have not watched the first two X-Men movies, Logan, and aren't at least viscerally aware of like the basics of like Loki season 1, you'll probably
I have seen that before. That's right. We did a watch along last week.
Well, not we. You did.
Well, people in the audience did it with me.
Yes, well, that's true. That's true. But yeah, it was funny because the day we went to see the movie, I actually watched Logan during the day, and like the first thing in the movie that pops up is referring to Logan. I was like, boy, did I make a good call there. So,
and thank God I watched YouTube videos because I have not seen Logan, but I knew what I needed to know for the opening of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
So I still have to watch that movie, and man, do I want to go see it now. Like, now that this whole other film is paying homage to it and recognizing it as this is shit you need to know. This is worth watching.
Yeah.
And that's not something that's usually said about Fox Universe Marvel stuff. So
yeah. No, although
I have heard for a long time that Logan is like the best of them.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was excellent. I mean, it's the best way to describe it would be to say that it's like a Marvel movie, but almost like in the real world. It's very gritty and not like a ton of superheroes in it. It's, I mean, they're there, but it's I don't know what to compare it to, but it was I thought it was a great movie. It was really, really well done. And I thought it was a really cool concept too. So, yeah, definitely check that out. If you haven't, because it'll explain some things in Deadpool and Wolverine, and also again the first two X-Men movies. I was already familiar with them, but I had actually watched those in several years, so I sat down and watched them with Steph, and she actually kind of enjoyed them. But you can definitely tell where the improvements have been made in the Marvel universe, cinematically since then. So yeah.
Okay, so. Are we trying to stay non-spoilery here for a little while? Do we speak in generalities or do we dive right in?
We can go generalities, and then if we hit a spoiler, we apologize.
Okay. So I'd like to explain my point about this is Deadpool in a Marvel movie more than Deadpool 3.
Okay.
So, yes, like you said, you go to these movies, you love the Deadpool movies as I do for the gore and the humor and the raunchiness and all that stuff. But the one thing upon rewatch, which I just did after seeing Deadpool and Wolverine, I rewatched Deadpool 1 and 2. There's a heart there in those movies. Like, it's funny because it's like the humor sets up the drama.
Yeah.
When there are actual stakes introduced and actual character beats, it hits that much harder because you've got this clown who all of a sudden is a person. And I feel like that wasn't present so much in this movie. Like, that was what made the Deadpool movies work, and even called out like how it was almost like the studio cheaped out on showing X-Men for some reason. But it puts the focus on Deadpool, but still says that it's in the X-Men universe. And this movie, I feel like by broadening the scope, which obviously they're introducing stuff from the Marvel universe, from Marvel Cinematic Universe into Deadpool movie. Now it's just like the Mandalorian problem, right? Like the Mandalorian season 1 and less so with season 2, and then especially less so in season 3, the focus broadened. So it wasn't so much on the main character and it was on all the surrounding stuff. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is the same as that, where like Deadpool 3 would tell a very personal story of the next chapter in Wade Wilson's life. This is more like, how does Wade Wilson fit into the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
I think with that explanation, you're spot on. I can see it that way. John Godfrey, good to see you always, DQ. We're less than 2 months away from some Brownie football, man. See you in a couple
Also,
months.
good to see you again. He was along for the watch along, so thank you so much.
Oh, there we go. Nice. Okay. Kale McLeish says, "Oh no, the heart was one of the best elements of the Deadpool films." Kale, AJ's right in what he just said, but I don't think it.
That's the YouTube short I'm going to clip. By the way, thank you.
Okay. What did I said? You're right.
15 seconds. That's all it's going to be.
AJ is right. Kale, it doesn't take away from the quality of the movie. I think. I think that using that as a backdrop, I would say this is a different kind of Deadpool movie. I think, but now that AJ, you mentioned it, I completely agree with that. But I still loved it. Again, because it had those main elements to me that I was looking for. I mean, I'll be honest. I was prepared to be really disappointed because I just, you know why? Because I love Deadpool, and when they throw him into that multiverse thing, I'm like, oh God, they're going to ruin Deadpool, and they didn't. And they kind of made fun of the multiverse, which was awesome. I was like, yes, I agree with that. But. Yeah, I think that's a perfect description of it, AJ, to say that, it's, that kind of heart, like the more personal aspect of, Deadpool kind of showing, the I hate to, it's Deadpool, like saying humanitarian side, but you know what I mean? The more emotional stuff. I think not having that doesn't detract from the movie. So if they were going to go a little bit different route, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, his motivation for even taking part in these events is not specific to his little circle of people, but they are threatened in a larger sense. So it still tracks a little bit, but boy, I forgot exactly how much heart was at the heart of the first two movies, right? Like the first one was him and Vanessa, and those two, like, beautiful couple, perfect acting and casting and writing, loved all of it. And the second one was, they were gonna start a family together, but she got ripped away, so it's weighted at his lowest point, and then he learns to trust in others, and we get introduced to X-Force briefly with them, and that's where they pick up this movie. But then that's very quickly put to the side so they can talk Marvel stuff instead. Yeah. And that part was a bit of a bummer. Like, I wasn't a bummer when I was watching it, but upon rewatch of the first two, I was like, yeah, this is a different kind of movie. Yeah. No, I think that's accurate. But again, for me, it didn't, that didn't detract from my enjoyment of it. No, but I still want a Deadpool 3. I hope they find a way. I hope they find a way to keep Deadpool movies siloed a little bit. That's the problem with the multiverse, is everything is so connected, which means you've got a kind of homogenous template for your movies now. Yeah, I like Deadpool as Deadpool, and they did a good job of straddling the line here, I think. But if this is the version of Deadpool we get moving forward, I feel like something has been lost. Okay. While something has been gained. Like, yeah, we get more Deadpool, which is awesome. So he survived the purchase of Fox by Disney. But I still want like a true Deadpool 3. I could see that. I think there's definitely an audience for that. So I don't think it's unrealistic to, think that that's, an impossibility. I mean, I think people would definitely, pay for it. I mean, this movie is more than strong enough to warrant another one. You know what I mean? So I can easily see that happening. Do you think that kind of template can work, where maybe once you establish that these people all exist in the same continuity, now they can go off and do their own thing? Because it seems like so many of these things, as you look at like the original Infinity Saga, once they started crossing characters over, then it was the classic question of, well, if this is going on, why is it only Ant-Man who's responding to it? Or, right. Where was Falcon? Where was Captain America? Where was Iron Man? Blah, 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 blah. But see, that never bothered me.
And I was going to use that as an example, excuse me, because, they did do that. They did the Avengers films and then had solo movies, and then did an Avengers film and then had solo movies. And I think it worked just fine. And I've always argued, with that sort of thing, like, oh, well, where was so-and-so when this was going on? Like, well, that's not the only situation going on in the world. So maybe they were off kicking ass doing something else, and it's off screen. Like, you got to think about that. The only one that I would really kind of question is the whole Captain Marvel thing, like her complete and total absence. Like, basically like Thanos is trying to wipe out half of the population of eternity, like existence. And she's out farting around with some aliens or something. Like, no, that one kind of got me. And I was like, well, that's bullshit. But like, other than that, I never really questioned where everybody else was. So
yeah. In terms of Infinity War, you're right. Captain Marvel's absence was weird. The fact that everyone had to get dusted first and then the pager. But her explanation of it's a big damn galaxy. I got a lot of ground to cover here. Yeah. All right, I can buy that. So I like your explanation of saying, like, anytime there's a solo movie where there's other people that maybe might be able to help, they're just doing something else. It's fine. Yeah, I'm perfectly okay with that.
I mean, and you're not you can't just have every movie be an Avengers movie, because the novelty wears off. Yeah, exactly. They had no service. John Godfrey. She was waiting for a page. Yep. By the way, he does have another comment, and just real quick, he says Deadpool fixed the multiverse, which was awesome, but Doctor Doom news brought the multiverse what if to the forefront. Don't get me started on that. I am extremely torn on the news about Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom.
Since we've broached it, do you want to just talk about it now?
I don't know what to say. Part of me absolutely hates it.
Well, we can say that we don't know shit about it yet. That's it. People are losing their minds like, oh my God, they're making Tony Stark Doctor Doom. And they never said that. So that might be the direction they go, but it could just be they got the same actor to play a different role. They've done it before in the Marvel, I almost said multiverse, cinematic universe. Yeah. But to me, also, never mind. We're in the non-spoiler section, so I don't want to say anything more.
Well, yeah.
But it wouldn't be the first time that an actor popped up in a different role in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, but I think this is a little bit different. I think to me, this would be like if Harrison Ford showed up as Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker in a new Star Wars movie, and you're like, what? But no, that's Han Solo. And so that's kind of how I feel about this whole thing with, Robert Downey Jr. as I'm like, no, that's Iron Man. Cut it out. Like, I don't like it.
I would put it more as like Brandon Routh as Bizarro. Where there's a way you could explain why one character looks like another, but it doesn't mean they're the same character.
Well, okay. So John Phillips, he says, don't be shocked if the RDJ thing, Robert Downey Jr., is a bait and switch. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they'd go through all that. I don't think they'd go through all that to make this big announcement and play it out so big just to be like, oh, I fooled you. Kale says, yeah, because Cable is Thanos. Yeah, but see, the difference there, Kale, is that, for nerds like us who actually know the names of the actors, I mean, the average moviegoer, I would have to think, doesn't know that. And so they're not going, oh, that's the same guy, because it was all basically under makeup and CG and stuff like that as Thanos. It wasn't like the same exact face that that you saw in all those different Infinity Saga films. So I think that one's a little bit different, but this one is just flat out, it's Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, so, although with how much they love their cameos and Easter eggs and insider jokes now, I would not be shocked if, like in Avengers Secret Wars, for example, we end up with Cable and Thanos, and they have like a little face off or something,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this whole movie is about Wolverine being officially part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe thanks to the multiverse. So Cable is part of it too, by extension.
Yeah.
So
it's
all in play.
I mean, Kale says they absolutely do, and they make a joke about it. Well, I know that Kale, I know they made a joke about it, and I get what you're saying, but I'm telling you, like, for example, my wife, when Deadpool 2 first came out, she didn't know when they said, okay, Thanos, whatever, and I'm laughing my ass off, and she's like, what's so funny? I'm like, that's the guy who plays Thanos. She goes, it is? So, I mean, again, like, people like us are at a certain level of nerdiness. We know these things, but again, a lot of the average movie-going public does not. So, anyway, honestly, I'm wondering if they didn't bring Robert Downey Jr. in as that character, we need the Fantastic Four to be actually good this time. So let's put somebody everybody will spend money to see in the movie.
I do wonder if I don't know if this is a term that's already been coined or if I get the credit, but I'm going to call it panic casting.
Yeah, I mean because
there were rumors that they were trying to find ways to bring the original Avengers back into the MCU because recent projects have bombed. They're like, well, what if we got Steve Rogers back and Tony Stark back and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, well, let's not shit the bed that hard, but what if we got the actors back?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and that's the thing. They were very careful to say Robert Downey Jr., Dr. Doom. They weren't saying Tony Stark, Dr. Doom.
Yeah. No, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'll watch it. I think the Fantastic Four has some cool characters. I mean, they're not ones I overly give a shit about. But I mean, I'll check it out again. I'm the perfect person like that they're probably shooting at. It's like, okay, well, I haven't really been thrilled with their recent output, but if it's Robert Downey Jr., I'll go watch that. Just if for no other reason than morbid curiosity. But does it feel like almost a throwback to like the golden age of cinema where there were like studio actors and they would be in like everything that studio put out? Because like Giancarlo Esposito and Pedro Pascal and like how many people are going to do a Star Wars thing and a Marvel thing at this point? It's getting a little bit ridiculous at this point. Well, they're making bank, so while the sun shines.
Yeah, so Moff Gideon is in Captain America 4, and you've got the Mandalorian is apparently Reed Richards. And
yep.
The list goes on and on and on. So yeah, why not? So why can't Robert Downey Jr. play two characters in the Marvel universe?
We'll see. I mean, I think he would make an awesome Doctor Doom, so that's good. But so getting back to Deadpool and Wolverine, like you said, we'll try not to spoil too much, but there are some awesome cameos. One of them, I was like, what the hell? And I had to explain it to Steph because she's like, but wait a minute. Are they just making fun of another movie with this? I'm like, no. He played that character in that movie. Even though he's
are we into full spoilers yet? Because I don't know which one you're talking about. There were too many cameos and Easter eggs.
Human Torch.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. So that was, she was like, but wait a minute. Like, are they just like putting that guy out there like as like a, hey, remember when he was this other guy? I'm like, no. He started out in the Marvel movies playing that character. So that's why it's like, holy shit. But even me for a second, I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, it was a bait and switch for sure.
Yeah, I was like for a second, like, wait, but then all of a sudden when he, did his thing, I was like, oh yeah. Okay.
Oh God, Kale's trying to like avoid spoilers.
That's okay. We can do that for him. But yeah, and can we just say that he had like the greatest, like potentially the greatest death in almost any of these movies?
That's why I said Mortal Kombat levels of gore. It's like,
yes,
I swear the negotiations to have this movie take place was Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Feige sitting down at a table, and Feige's like, these are all the things you can't do. And Ryan Reynolds is like, all right, then I'm going to do this, and this. He's like, all right.
Yeah.
Anything that wasn't on the taboo list, he's like, I'm doing them.
All right. Kale says, flash this comment when you're done. TV muted. All right, Kale. We're done. We're done with that little spoiler.
Also, we're apparently TV stars now. So, hey, sweet.
Yeah. There we go. Look at that.
How do we look in 65-inch 4K? Like shit? I know.
Yeah. Remember, the camera adds 20 pounds. I'm actually a lot less than, you know. But yeah, so that was
so.
Awesome.
How many cameras do you have on you right now?
Yeah. The Friends joke, well played. Yeah, I mean, the little Easter eggs and the, just the little callbacks and stuff. One of the things that I thought was the best was just how many things they made fun of that seemed to be like kind of pissing into the wind, you know? Like they really
the trailers about not being able to do coke or reference it.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. The whole 20th Century Fox thing, and I mean, there's a couple things they just like hammered on a couple times.
That's the nice thing is a lot of the Easter eggs we can actually speak about without being spoilery because they were in the trailers.
Yeah. Dude, I'm glad we got like at least a pretty solid dose of Blind Al.
Mm-hmm.
Because I love the interplay between those two. So I love that. Dude, the job interview was hilarious. Steph said that she thought like the first half of the movie wasn't as good. She thought it wasn't as funny as, and like I mean, when the action picks up, like, yeah, it's cooler because you're getting more ass kicking. But I thought it was really funny all the way through. So,
for the most part, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's a bit of a lull on purpose at a certain point. I mean, in any movie, like you can't have it be up, 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 up. You've got to have like a little bit of a lull. So when you build to the big finale, it's a build.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, like I mean, once they got more into the I'd say that the third, fourth of the movie, I guess, like everything was moving along nicely, and then like when they were in the void and trying to figure out how to, and that's again not a spoiler because it was shown in the trailers.
Yeah.
And they were just trying to get their way out to stop the big villain of the movie. And Wolverine and Deadpool are still squabbling back and forth and stabby. One of the best fights we got in the movie right there, I think, but also ultimately inconsequential.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that in general? Because one thing that I will say that I don't feel is too much of a spoiler is, boy, the healing factor for both of them has been dialed up to 11, if not 12 in this movie. Like, yeah, Deadpool can survive anything, but like it takes him a while and it hurts like hell in the first one and the second one. And then this one, it's like insta heal.
Well, but I think we talk about different wounds. Like, in Deadpool 2, he got ripped in half. He had he cut off his own hand in the first one. So that's actually like regenerating limbs and stuff. Like, whereas, I mean, Deadpool 2, he had the frickin', the fence post rammed through his head. And, Colossus picks him up and just pulls it out. And he's like, oh, back to normal. So yeah, like I didn't, it didn't really bother me because I just accept that that's what they do. So it just, to be honest, until you just mentioned, I didn't really think about it. Cause I'm like, yeah, they heal. Okay, fine.
I didn't really think about it either until the rewatch of the first two movies. And then I realized like every bullet he takes in that first movie, it stings like hell and he feels it and he's pissed.
Yeah.
And then this one, there's buckets of blood. I'm like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're just brushing that off.
Well, maybe it's one of those things like he got used to it. I mean, also, I think
it might be necessary too, because I mean, if you're going to be having a little spat with Wolverine, you're going to get stabbed a lot. And if every one of those claws was like, give me 20 minutes, like, well,
yeah,
that's not much of a movie. So
exactly. Yeah.
Like saying, hopefully if a character is dying, it isn't as drawn out as the Deadpool 2 scene. Yeah, if I can guess a little bit of shade on Deadpool 2, that joke ran out about 3 or 4 minutes before the scene did.
Yeah, it was a little bit much, I would say.
They went for the Family Guy overkill, but it just didn't land the same.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I would agree with that. I'd be on board with that. Again though, in this movie, it didn't really bother me though. I was enjoying the movie. I expected it to be like that, and honestly, I was sitting there waiting for the multiverse thing to take the movie, down a shit path, and it really didn't.
Yeah, can we talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you, because you're better at like leading without spoiling. I just blurt shit out. So
no, I am right on board with you about that. Actually, I was really curious how they were going to tell this movie with the multiverse in such a way that it was self-contained enough to not leave anybody behind, but also not so exposition-y that it was just info dump.
Yeah.
I love the way they pared it back and they're like, look, this is what you need to know for this story. And if you know the rest, fine, it lines up. And if you don't, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's fine. And they didn't get into this whole thing like the multiverse of madness thing where they're just like hopping between universes and seeing all these different versions. And no, it's just like, look, you get this Wolverine and this Deadpool, and that is it. Those are your characters for this movie. Everyone else that shows up from any other multiverse, whatever, just background, just filler.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have to admit that like the end was kind of, with that major fight, and then it just kind of ends because someone shows up and they're like, "Oh, cool." I was like, "Okay,
yeah,
I was all right," but then again, how are you going to kill what you were supposed to kill? You know what I mean? So, by the way, speaking of the end,
go ahead.
I don't care. I don't remember if this is a spoiler or not, but I don't care in this instance. Dog pool. Amazing. Dog pool was awesome.
Yeah. I actually had to look up to see that was a real dog. I'm like, there's no way a dog is that ugly and has that tongue, but yes, real dog.
Yeah. And her name is Peggy, and she won. Yeah, Britain. She actually won Britain's ugliest dog. So, yeah. Kale, for the love of God, it's a dog. It was in the trailers and stuff. It's not like there's some big secret. Besides, go see the damn movie, Kale. Enough.
Yeah, we advertised last week, and I said on the live streams too of the watch along for Loki that we were going to be spoiling the shit out of this movie. If you haven't seen it yet, that's on you, man.
You've had a whole weekend, damn it, Kale. Go. It's been
apparently this is like kicking ass at the box office too. This is having like old Infinity Saga kind of numbers going for it, which is awesome. I'm so glad that people are turning out for this movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it goes to show, the popularity of both characters. It's kind of like, I mean, who doesn't love Deadpool? I mean, even my stepdaughter, who doesn't like superhero movies at all, she thinks Deadpool's great.
Dude, casting Ryan Reynolds was brilliant. Like,
yes,
you're right. You don't have to like Marvel movies, but do you think Ryan Reynolds is funny? Great. Here you go.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's like going to see a comedy, like a violent comedy. It's a different experience. So, I mean, it's, again, people love that. And also with how much they've teased, the Wolverine versus Deadpool thing, with Deadpool making fun of him all the time. I mean, it's like you wanted to see it. It's like that WrestleMania match. When back when we were kids, when it was like the only pay-per-view of the year, and you would build up for a year to this huge main event. Like this is kind of one of those things. Like you always wanted to see it, and then when they announced it, you're like, oh my God, they're actually doing this. And it's something you couldn't wait to see. And I think they pulled it off. Wait, and by the way, this is not a spoiler, Kale, so don't even mute the TV again. We're just gonna warn you guys, if you don't like a movie where fuck is like every other word, you might not like this one. Can you imagine being the poor bastard that had to cut a trailer together that wasn't Red Band? I know. I was like, I think we were like 2/3 of the way through the movie, and I was like, man, oh man, this is like that Sausage Party movie. Like, holy crud. Yeah. Yeah.
Hugh Jackman must have been having the time of his life with this. Can you imagine, like, talk about like taking off the handcuffs?
Well, and it's like he's done like multiple versions of the character now, which is pretty cool. He's just like, pretty much like the straight up dude in the X-Men movies. And then in Logan, it's like, the older, wizened, again, more gritty, realistic, Wolverine guy, as Logan. And now in this one, like, he can actually do like funny stuff. It was almost like Cable, but with like a sense of humor, By the way, I haven't seen a lot of Hugh Jackman's other stuff. That dude can act. Oh, you didn't know that?
The heart's missing from this movie. Boy, man, he gets to really like emote in this. And again, this is not a spoiler, Kale, so don't mute the fucking TV. But like, this is the worst Wolverine, right? That's the whole point is, Deadpool teams up with like the broken down, defeated piece of shit Wolverine. And as a result, like, there's a whole bunch of catharsis that takes place. And boy, does Hugh Jackman just crush it in those scenes where he's got to like express and emote and act properly. Like, I know Ryan Reynolds is great at that too. Like, he can be hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
He can also like, yank at the heartstrings, but holy crap, Hugh Jackman was like dialing it up to 11 on that. It was incredible.
Yeah.
And again, it hits harder because this movie is full of like blood, gore, fart jokes, and, fourth wall breaks. And then all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, Wolverine is tearing up and it doesn't seem out of place. Like, that's a long walk to take from where that character began.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if there is heart to be found in this, I think it comes from him. Yeah. Which I thought was really cool. Like you said, it adds another layer, to that character. And, yeah, I'm surprised you haven't seen him in other stuff. He's really, really good.
Well, I mean, they make multiple references to his other stuff, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I also credit to Ryan Reynolds. Like, this is his franchise, and he made it a true team up where he's like, hey, Hugh Jackman, come over here. You're my best friend. Do you want to do some acting in a movie with me? Like, real acting? Like,
right.
That's actually very selfless. It could have just been Deadpool 3. It could have been the Ryan Reynolds show. And he's like, no, man, let's let Hugh Jackman do some stuff.
Yeah. No, am I freezing up on you? Cause you froze up on me a little bit.
Nope.
Okay. So it's just on your end. Okay.
It's just crowd strike.
Crowd strike. It's that damn weather. Yeah.
Yes. Pretty decent singer too. I think I saw one of the songs on the playlist. Yes, there is, of course, an in-joke about the Magic Man, and it's, front and center.
Okay. I do not remember that.
I've never seen the Magic Man. It's just I watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff, but not a ton, but I know that he's very good. I didn't know he was a singer, though. So.
Oh, but it's not called Magic Man. I think it's called The Greatest Showman.
Greatest Showman, yes.
Yeah, Magic Man is Cal Naughton. Cal Naughton Jr.
Not familiar.
The Magic Man. Now you see me? Now you don't. Come on, Talladega Nights, you know that shit.
You know how long? It's funny you say that. I haven't watched that movie in so long. I need to go revisit that one.
Yeah, I think I want to be called like the Magic Man. Like, now you see me? Now you don't.
That's right. Oh my God. I love when I go so long without seeing certain movies that I love, because I go back to it. I watched this one.
Right.
But yeah, so I completely agree with you on the acting part of it. It does add some gravitas to it. And, when you mentioned earlier that it's like Deadpool in a Marvel movie, it's not like a Deadpool 3. Like I said a minute ago, like, I think that adds the heart that you need to have. It's not just, he shows up and he's a crusty bastard. Like, there's more to it. Like, they add to the character, which is really cool. And the other thing that I liked is that, it's a team up movie. And yeah, at the end, they're kind of like, okay, well, we're cool with each other, but it's pretty much most of the movie. They never get to that point of, oh, yay, we're buddies. Like, nah, they like can't stand each other.
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't change pretty much for the whole thing, which I liked. I didn't want it to be like a paint by numbers. Okay, well, we're enemies. Oh, we just killed people together. Okay, now we're friends.
Which tracks for the characters, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. I think, Ryan Reynolds, and that's the thing is like Ryan Reynolds is one of the main writers too. And I think he really understands the characters, but also, I think he understands, the whole multiverse thing, and that it's confusing for a lot of people, and it's kind of off-putting, and they even make jokes about it. Mm-hmm. And, I think he wrote
which is a spoiler, but don't mute your fucking TV, Cale.
It's not really a big spoiler, is it? I mean, but they included the multiverse stuff because that's what's going on right now. But for someone like me who's not into that, it wasn't off-putting, and it was easier to understand.
Yeah, this movie for me was very much like Guardians of the Galaxy 3, where it existed in the multiverse era, but tried, even though it's set in the void, which is a multiverse concept, it stayed as apart and separate from that as possible to be its own thing. And I think that was exactly the right call.
Digitizing on me here. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm trying to piece together your point. It broke up a bunch while you were.
Sorry, you broke up for me too. Apparently, I shouldn't have canceled my previous internet. Anyway, I was saying how the same way Guardians 3 basically ignored the multiverse, even though it existed in the time period of the multiverse.
Yeah. This
kind of does the same thing, even though it exists in the void, which is absolutely a multiverse concept.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think this was easy to understand. We talked about this last week. I tried to get through Loki, and I'm like, it's an unpopular opinion. I'm like, this sucks. I got through an episode and a half, and I was like, I am not liking this at all. And it's just convoluted and confusing, and it's annoying. And I know I shouldn't do this because it's something different, but I can't help but compare it to the Infinity Saga.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, because it's not anywhere near that, it just wasn't great. So, I like that, Ryan Reynolds and the other writers kind of had to use the multiverse concept, but made it something palatable. I think that was the biggest takeaway for me, was that it's actually tolerable, to have multiverse crap in there. So, that was my main worry, and it was assuaged pretty quickly. The concept of the movie is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's very much like you said, it's easy to understand. You get just enough of an explainer about it, so you know who the TVA is and what their problem is with what's going on, or what they need Deadpool for, without being like, here's everything you didn't see from Loki. In fact, there is actually, I loved that fourth wall break when Deadpool actually says, "Oh, like Loki season 1, episode 5."
Yeah, right.
That's exactly it. So yeah, I think that was cool, and I have some questions as someone who did watch the show. I feel like there's a little bit of inconsistencies. It's almost like the same way that Deadpool calls out the fact that there's only ever Colossus and Teenage Negasonic Warhead as the only X-Men. Same thing. We got the TVA, but we didn't get the TVA from Loki. Where's Owen Wilson? Where's all the other characters in the TVA from that show?
Yeah.
It's we got this little subset nugget of stuff, just enough to say that yes, it connects, but not enough to say, well, we didn't really put all of our faith and budget behind that part.
Yeah. Yeah.
I doesn't quite track, but I don't care. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. I was wondering when, or if they were going to bring in certain characters, and it was set up perfectly for them to do so, but it never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Which in a way I thought was kind of cool, because it was okay, we're not just going to, rely on the tried and true, safe ground type of stuff. they kind of went outside the box, and to the point where I'm sure like the big comic book fans would know, but I didn't know who the hell the main bad guy was. So I was like, okay, and I'm thinking, how the hell are they going to defeat this person? So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that, and I also like that the stuff that didn't track with the rest of the multiverse saga didn't really matter. So they paired, like I said, they paired it back to a point where you got enough of a story to understand this. And that's all you need to know. It's like the first Star Wars movie where, you got points where you could build off of that and expand the universe if you want. But, the reference to the Clone Wars in episode 4. Okay, great. That's a little bit of seasoning to kind of flesh out the world, indicate that there's a history there. You don't need to know about the Clone Wars to understand episode 4. So they didn't talk about it. It's fine. Same thing here. Like, is there a multiverse? Sure. Did we cover it a little bit and what the TVA is? Yes. Do you want to know more about the TVA? Great. Go watch Loki.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you don't need it for this story, but if you want to, it's there.
Yeah. Kale says, I mean, as long as you don't need to rely on knowing Loki beat for beat, I think we'll be all right. Yeah. I mean, Kale, I got through an episode and a half and I was like, ugh. But I mean, basically if you know what the TVA is and what they do, you're good. That's pretty much from what I gathered. Am I wrong in saying that, AJ? Or is there more that
you got it?
Okay. And then Kale asks, who is the main baddie? I've seen no promo behind it, but also seen people say it's not the focus. The hell's name? Cassandra Nova or something? It's Charles Xavier's sister.
Well, now we're getting into spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah, he asked. Yeah.
It's Cassandra Nova, which I didn't hear about before this movie either. So I didn't have any background besides, again, YouTube videos.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think
YouTube.
Don't feel bad. I do too. But I watch weird shit like the Hoof GP and all that, like Dr. Pimple Popper and gross shit.
Oh God!
So, look at this giant thing that's exploding with pus. Like, yeah, sign me up. But yeah, I didn't know who that person was, Cassandra Nova, but the way that they kind of like introduced her and showed what she's capable of, it's like, okay, well, how in the hell are they supposed to defeat her? So it was pretty interesting how they went about that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it's one of those characters that I'm not invested in because I don't know who they are. But I still thought it was cool. Whereas some of these other characters they're bringing into other shows or other movies are they're so peripheral that I just don't give a damn.
Yeah, it's the classic superhero movie problem, isn't it? Where the stakes are high enough that the deserved outcome for the villain is death. But you don't want to just keep offing people and reinventing villains time after time after time.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you don't want a Mega Man problem where Dr. Wily somehow 13 times in a row did a thing, So right. You got to find some way to like build the threat of a villain without offing the villain every time. But sometimes you do. So I think this was a good middle ground where trying to stay as non-spoilery as possible. The threat was dealt with, but there's still a possibility of some of the threats persisting into other movies.
All right, on my back, I just got the spinning wheel. I think I froze.
Yeah, we're having a bad internet night.
We've got some hellacious storms out here right now, so that's not to be anyway. Not a surprise. Yeah. Kale. Yeah, Kale says, "Whoa, Disney just shared some photos for Skeleton Crew." Yep, that's the next thing on our radar. They have a Max Rebo. Did you see any of the pictures? One of the kids.
I haven't seen the pictures. No.
Yeah, one of the kids is the same species as Max Rebo.
Hey, sure, why not?
Yeah, I was.
Well, like, okay, Mandalorian. One of the kids in that is the same species as Yoda.
Kale's like, mute the TV. Spoilers.
Don't you dare mute that fucking TV.
Right. So what did you think about, how do I say this without spoilering?
Dude, we're 55 minutes into this show. If we can't talk spoilers yet, what the hell?
Kale, mute your TV. What did you think about them having to fight like freaking 40 or 50 different versions of Deadpool?
I did. I thought it was gratuitous at first, which was fun, for the shock value of it and everything. I do like that it ended with them realizing that it was utterly pointless. When you got a fight between, basically immortals, none of the stabby, shooty is going to do a damn thing. It's just a waste of ammo at that point.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that part, actually.
I didn't. I was like, okay, this is kind of dumb. That was a little too multiverse-ish for me. And again, the way they got out of it, it was funny and it was original, but it was kind of like, like you said, like kind of makes it feel like it's pointless, Our cousin Chris, good to see you, man. He says, loved the movie, but I felt like it was 20 minutes of story cut up by multiple awesome fights. I think there's more story there than that, but I don't think you're faulted for thinking that, because I think some other people have mentioned that in reviews. But I mean, look, as I said earlier in the show, I watched the Deadpool movies specifically to see the fights and the gore and the humor and the vulgarity and stuff like that. So, Rocketman 137, good to see you. He says, is Skeleton Crew a part of the Star Wars universe? Yeah, it's a new show that's coming out later this year, and it's Jude Law, and then it's like a bunch of kids.
Yeah, it's part of the what we'll call the Mandoverse.
Yeah, part of the Mandoverse. Period. Yeah. Rocketman. No spoilers. We already warned you, man. The show we've avoided them mostly.
For Star Wars or for Deadpool. Like,
gotta
be specific, man.
Well, I don't think answering his Skeleton Crew question qualifies as a spoiler. So, but yeah, I don't know. Like the fact that they got out of it and it was like, kind of pointless kind of thing. Okay. I did because but then I think it's difficult to tell stories in the multiverse without it being just stupid. And that's why I have such a hard time accepting it, because it's like I've said many times, there's no stakes.
Yeah, I know you don't watch Rick and Morty, but that's exactly what it felt like to me, because they deal with the multiverse a ton in that. Okay. Rick has a portal gun, so he just goes to all these different dimensions and realities, and it's kind of the same thing where there's like infinite Ricks, and every Rick has a Morty. It's the same thing here, where like apparently every Deadpool has a Peter.
Okay. Yeah, that was.
I thought that was not so much an Easter egg for or a multiverse thing. I thought it was literally just a Rick and Morty Easter egg to say that they're basically one and the same.
Okay, I mean, I can see that. I don't know. It's the one part that got a little too silly for me in terms of like the multiverse-ish thing. Because again, I'm going, well, how in the hell are they going to kill all these guys? Like, if they're all Deadpools, it means they regenerate. Mm-hmm. So what the hell's going to happen? And they made a joke about that. Like,
not all of them. Not all of them regenerate.
Well, that's true. Our cousin wants to know our thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Dr. Doom. We actually covered that already, unfortunately, but I'm not a fan. Late. Yeah, you're just late. I'm not a fan, cuz he says, I think it's jumped the shark territory. Yeah, I kind of tend to agree with that. That was kind of my take is, I don't know.
I'm very much in a wait and see. We know Robert Downey Jr. is fun to watch, and we don't know if they're saying that through the multiverse, there's a version of Tony Stark that becomes Dr. Doom, or if they're just casting the same actor in a different role. So I'm going to wait and see. I'm not going to say it sucks until I have something to decide.
Well, I don't think it's the whole what if thing where like Tony Stark is Dr. Doom. If that's the case, I'm going to hate it. because that's like multiverse heavy, and I think that's fucking stupid. So I will hate that. Like Tony Stark is Iron Man. Like
here's
period.
a spoiler for how the multiverse didn't go. Kang, the original Kang, is a descendant / variant of Tony Stark.
He's also a convicted felon now.
Exactly. That's why they distanced themselves from him. But that was the whole thing. Was it was still going to be tied to Tony Stark anyway. So getting Robert Downey Jr. to play someone else who's kind of in charge of being the big bad of the next Avengers movie, it's kind of the same story, really. We're just getting there in a different way.
Do you think they're going to recast Kang, or just kind of like pretend like it never happened?
You're the one who doesn't care about Loki, so can I just like spoil the last 5 minutes of the last episode of season 2?
Yes, that's fine.
So it came out after Quantumania, which bombed famously.
Yeah.
They just mentioned that. There was a Kang dust up, because Kang's the big villain of the Loki series.
Okay.
One of the Kangs got loose on Earth, whatever, but I heard they dealt with it. So they just basically like brushed him off as like an afterthought by the end of Loki season 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. They set him up
like basically Kang is the COVID of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Nice. Oh, what a hell of an analogy that is. Yeah. All right. Well, that explains that. Okay. Interesting. So now I wonder what they're going to do for like a big bad. No, you can't use Kang. I mean, was he that big of a thing?
Yeah.
In the comics,
apparently, yeah. Like they said that Secret Wars was one of the titles. I think it's Avengers 6. I guess in comic books, Doctor Doom was the main villain of that arc. So
okay,
they were kind of telling an alternate take on that to use Kang instead.
Okay.
And now they just brushed him aside and went back to more comic accurate Doctor Doom is in charge.
Wow, why wouldn't they have gone with Doctor Doom in the first place? I mean, I would say with the average fan, or even just peripheral. I think if you asked them, okay, do you know who Kang is, or do you know who Doctor Doom is? I think more people would know who Doctor Doom is than Kang.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know who the hell Kang was. I was like, who the hell is this? So,
fair point.
But
I don't know, this whole thing, tying it back into Deadpool and Wolverine, though, because I know a lot of people were expecting this to be like the reset of the multiverse and just get rid of that shit and even talk about it in the movie. I was surprised. Again, sorry, mute your fucking TV, Kale. I don't think this did that. Were you surprised?
No, I don't either. I think they simplified it. And I think they did a good job of explaining it, but I don't think it kind of like wipes it away. But it does, that's the one thing that I really liked about it, was that it did kind of, I thought that the first part of the movie was very exposition heavy, but I was okay with it because I kind of feel like that was needed. Mm-hmm. It's like, especially for someone like me who's like, this doesn't make any goddamn sense. I don't like this multiverse thing. Like, for them to sit there and explain and go, well, it means this. It's because of this. Like, here's how it works. Like, cousin. Next up from the MCU, Mark Ruffalo as Magneto. Nice. Oh my God. Well, it is a Disney property, so maybe they're going to have like I don't know, Scarlett Johansson as Captain America or something. So they'll just do that whole thing. But yeah, I thought that, them explaining it the way they did, I was like, okay, see, this kind of makes sense. It's still a little confusing, I think. When I watch this again, I'll revisit my opinion there. But I mean, I thought they did a good job of actually discussing what it is and kind of making it a little easier to follow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I thought the ultimate outcome of this whole thing, with the way they set it up in the beginning of the movie itself, was that what we would end up with is the Fox universe is dead. Because, I mean, we saw the sign for 20th Century Fox in the void in the trailers. I was like, okay, so clearly this is a way to what they want to do is they want to take the parts of the Fox universe, namely Deadpool and Wolverine, and find a way to get them into the Marvel proper universe so we can just close the door on that era and still preserve the parts that we want to keep.
Yeah.
And that's not what happened here. Like, I thought it was very surprising. And yes, again, this is a spoiler. So, but yeah, at the end, the Fox universe was not wiped from existence. I thought Deadpool was going to grab, because he was all about like the people in this picture. This is my universe. I thought he was going to pull them into the Marvel universe and the Fox universe would die.
No.
Now, how do you feel about that ending, knowing that the multiverse is alive and well still, and all those characters that we left in the Deadpool movies are not part of Marvel proper, or at least what they call Earth 616 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Well, I mean, they can still bring them in. You know what it feel? You know what it feels like to me. Honestly, it kind of feels like the Star Wars with the EU. Like they're picking and choosing the stuff they actually like and then bringing it in and letting the rest like rot on the vine. And it kind of feels like that's kind of the direction that they're trying to go with this, which is fine. I mean, some of those
Did
movies.
you love the meta-ness of that, by the way? The idea of anchor beings, where like they're like, yeah, basically Hugh Jackman not being in X-Men stuff killed the X-Men franchise. So we're gonna say that like the universe died because Wolverine died.
Yeah. Well, no, I thought that was cool, and because it's like you said, it's meta, and it makes a lot of sense when you look at it. So I thought to write that in was a pretty intelligent way to do things. So, I thought that was good. Again, I thought the writing on this one was really good because, as we've seen, you can really just, and I'm sorry, I just did not like Loki. It's too goddamn weird. And it's like, stop it. I want to watch it and just have a fun time watching superhero stuff. I don't want to sit here and figure out a physics equation to figure out what the hell is going on in the story. And and everyone tells me how great it is. I mean, shit, my wife loves it. And I'm watching this and going, when the hell is this going to get good? Like, what is going on? And it just kept annoying me more and more.
See, I do love the thought experiment of, okay, so we understand this whole concept, and we always wonder this in our own personal lives. Like, what if I had done this instead of that? And, every branching decision in there on, if you could meet a version of yourself that did that other thing, how would you get along? Would you be enemies? Would you be friends?
Yeah.
Like, as much as I'm fine with myself, I know that if the world was populated by nothing but me, it would collapse. It would be terrible. The society wouldn't exist. There are jobs that I don't want to do. There are skills that I don't have, so on and so forth. Right. So I think it's a fascinating concept to play around with this idea of like, well, what if you were just a little bit different? And how different is too different to where now you're enemies, Yeah.
I mean, when they show the different versions and stuff like that, when he goes looking for him,
and plus with Loki in particular, he's the god of mischief. Like, he's always starting shit and he's a backstabber. So when you get a whole bunch of Lokis, they're just going to backstab each other. That's what they do.
Yeah.
And it's like a free for all. Pull all the Wolverines you want. They don't get along with anyone. And then you mix that with Deadpool, who is someone that is completely like obnoxious as hell. Like, the first person that no one's going to get along with is Deadpool, and you put the least accepting character with him, which is Wolverine. It's oil and water. It's the classic buddy cop formula, right?
Yeah. Well, but I mean, but it works, and I think but let's face it. Wouldn't you have been surprised if this movie sucked? I mean, it's kind of hard to screw something like this up.
You know what? With Marvel's recent track record, no, I wouldn't have been surprised if this movie sucked.
I was afraid that it would, but I would have been shocked if it did. I just think Ryan Reynolds has so much control over the Deadpool character that he knows exactly how to write it, what people want from it. And bringing Wolverine in again, I think it's so hard to screw it up, because if you just have the characters act like themselves, you're going to get something good out of it, because they're not trying to change. Oh well, Wolverine all of a sudden is a nice guy, and he's a big softie. No. I mean, these two characters bouncing off each other just like makes for, it's kind of like, wrestling back in the day. Like, would it ever have been possible for, The Rock and Stone Cold to have a bad match or to have a bad run together for a title? Like, no, because they're both so goddamn good that sticking them together, it's going to work. So, I think this is kind of like that. I think this is kind of like that.
That's a good way to put it. And especially with Marvel having so many characters now and so many expected crossovers from movie to movie, even if it's just like for a few minutes, you really have to be careful about like which characters you put together to bounce off each other. Cause like what made the Infinity Saga so great? It was Cap and Iron Man. Cause those two characters couldn't be more diametrically opposed as people. And as a result, you get this fantastic conflict that is a love-hate relationship. And sometimes it's the hate and sometimes it's the love.
Yeah.
And by the culmination of 24 movies, you get respect. And that's the perfect blend of everything.
Yep. So Kale says, agreed, but I almost feel like this should suck because of it being fan service, the motion picture. But you're making it sound like they balance it perfectly. Yeah, I mean, they do, Kale. Because, it's, I mean, is it fan servicey? I mean, I guess so. But I mean, the whole concept itself is fan servicey. You know what I mean? Like, let's face it. This wasn't just, an idea based of, hey, what we should do with the next movie is we should bring in Wolverine. It's like, no, the whole world has wanted to see this. So the concept in and of itself to have these two characters anchor a movie together is fan service right there. So, it was always going to be a certain degree of fan service. That being said, though, yeah, they do balance it perfectly, Kale. And, they write it very intelligently. And again, they don't, it's not one of those standard, they go on this journey and then like they become friends. It's, they begrudgingly kind of deal with it by the end, but it's not like they're like, okay, it's not like we're going to go forward and they're going to be like this, like, super team, moving forward. There's like 4 more of these movies where they're, just, they got each other's back and they're kicking ass, throughout the multiverse. Like that's not the case at all. So, I thought they did,
man. Deadpool made a promise. Hugh Jackman's going to be doing this till he's 90.
Well, that's true. He did say that, but, I think that's a good way to say it, Kale. They balance it perfectly. But again, like I think it would have been almost impossible for it to be a piece of crap. But you never know, AJ, like to your point, that because lately the multiverse stuff and the Marvel stuff has been really kind of shoddy. Shit, we both said it. Quantumania, I love Ant-Man. I love Paul Rudd, but I fell asleep for like 20 minutes in the middle of that movie. And I woke up, I'm like, what is all this? It's like that one and Doctor Strange too. It's like, they're like special effects dumps.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the crap is happening here? Like, can I get like some sort of a well thought out plot? Like, what in the hell are they talking about?
Do you, let me explain a fan theory real quick and see if you like it or not, as someone who's not a fan of the multiverse. So we know that the bad guys hang out, their hideout in the void is the skeleton of Giant Man, right?
Yes.
There's a fan theory out there that the Giant Man in the probability matrix, whatever that was in Quantumania, when he gets spaghettified, and like disappears from, I guess, possibility or something. That's the same Giant Man. Like he gets dissolved in the probability matrix and then gets dumped in the void. Like that's what happens to things that get spaghettified. Do you like that as a concept?
I mean, I guess it would make sense. I can't really say that. I mean, it's great or shitty. I think I would accept it. It's almost like saying you're going to hell or whatever, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess
you didn't
it's
make it far enough into Loki, but they kind of explained the void well enough. It's a point at the end of time where they just throw all the shit that they don't want on the timeline.
Okay.
So for me, when a universe gets pruned or unraveled, and they discuss pruning.
Okay.
Yeah, when something gets pruned, that's where it goes. So it's not disintegrated into nothingness. It just gets put at a place on the timeline that can never be reached. It's like, remember the restaurant at the end of the universe from Douglas Adams? That's what it is. The void is the restaurant at the end of the universe.
We had a Douglas Adams reference on the show.
Yeah,
go us.
Right?
Nice. Oh my God, there's a show we could do. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Just not the movie. It was interesting for what it was, but it is not nearly as awesome as the book.
Boy, that's okay. That's a total seg. No, we can't get into that, but that was also written by Douglas Adams. So, I mean, it's canon, so to speak.
Oh, I know, but it's anyway, whole nother topic.
Yeah.
But John Phillips, he says, I really enjoyed Deadpool looking for Wolverine. Yeah, that was a great montage scene. That was really cool.
There's all your Easter eggs for the comic book fans. All those versions of Wolverine exist in the comics.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, not one of them, but we'll save that little cameo, the actor cameo for.
I think Kale might be our anchor being, because we're basically for most episodes at the end, and we really haven't gotten into spoilers because like the one guy is like, I haven't seen it, no spoilers. We're still doing it. We're still doing spoiler free as much as we can.
Oh, we're trying. Don't want to ruin it
as much as we advertise. It's all spoilers, and we're like, nah, we're backing off.
Yeah. No, but well, yeah. I mean, overall, man. I mean, to kind of put a bow on it, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. As I said to start the show, it's definitely my third favorite of the movies. But that's not to say that I didn't really, really like it. So, I mean, I would have no problem watching it again. And I think I'll like it better going forward once I've seen the whole. Kale, you've done fantastically well. Sorry to wreck your episode. You didn't wreck the episode, man. It's not a big deal. It's not like everybody else wants spoilers. It's just we're just too impatient to not give them.
Right.
So you kept us in check, man. But yeah, I think repeated viewings for me is going to enhance my enjoyment of it, because I'm going to understand the timeline stuff and the multiverse stuff a little better as it's explained multiple times. So I think for that reason, it's going to be one of those movies that I think will get better for me as time goes on. I think it'll age well for me. And if nothing else, I'll still like it because, again, the interplay between the characters is amazing. I mean, dude, it's everything you want it to be. I mean, everybody, when this was announced, you're praying for it to just be them just like absolutely shitting on each other and kicking each other and, kicking each other's ass. And that's exactly what you get. I mean, you can't ask for anything more. Even if you don't like the story, like the humor and just the interplay between the characters, like, I mean, dude, like that's going to be amazing. Or that's amazing. Sorry, I was reading a comment over here. But yeah, that's amazing right there. So even just that, and the movie is worth it, even if you're not into the story and the explanations and things like that. So I thought it was. I think it's incredibly successful on that level, and I think it's going to, definitely kind of revive a little bit of interest in Marvel that was lost with a couple duds in a row. So.
I really hope that this is a sign of better things to come. Yes.
Yeah. Well, shit. Maybe they'll let Ryan Reynolds in on some of the writing. To, honestly, with these new Avengers movies, that they've announced, and this, Captain America. What the hell is it called? The Captain America 4.
Brave New World.
Brave New World. That's right. I knew it was new something.
It was originally called New World Order, but that got hashtagged badly. Like some sort of fascist group kind of appropriated that phrase. So they're like, let's not call it that anymore.
They could have taken it back. They should have kept it. But yeah, those movies make me nervous. Because Captain America to me is Steve Rogers, and I know it was Sam Wilson in the comics, and I totally get that. But it's still so weird for me to see Sam Wilson as Captain America. That's strange. And the Avengers movies, I mean, thankfully the Russos are doing them. But it's like, okay, even them, can they withstand how shitty the multiverse has been? So it makes me nervous, man. So
yeah, tying into the RDJ casting, it seems a little bit panicky, but also, yeah, I'll admit I'm hyped. If you're going to get the actors we like and the directors who wrote the best of the Infinity Saga, if you liked Winter Soldier, if you liked Civil War, and if you liked Infinity War and Endgame, then you got to have faith that they're going to do it again. I just wonder if there's enough time, because they said, what is it, 2026?
I think
2027 for Doomsday. But they've definitely slowed down the cadence of the movies to where I don't know if they've got enough time to do damage control and build to Doomsday.
Maybe that's a starting point. Maybe they're going to do a couple things between now and then that kind of like introduce characters and concepts, and then that's going to be like a jumping off point. It would
be interesting. I haven't watched Phase 1 in such a long time. I don't remember when the Avengers, like when it was obvious that they were forming a team. I know it was like kind of like an Easter egg, but I don't think it was. They actually got put together as a team for the first time officially in that movie, right? Like part of that movie was rounding up the team members, wasn't it?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so the fact that we don't know who's going to be on the Avengers for Doomsday is not a problem yet then.
No.
Okay.
And God, how many iterations of the Avengers were there? I mean, so good Lord, you could have any number
it's
of
the comics, man. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So I just hope they have enough characters that I actually give a damn about. So,
that's the problem is like the characters that they've created for Phase 4 and beyond. Do you care?
That's the problem for me, as I've said on the show before. Like they're starting to get into these like C and D level characters that I just don't give a shit about.
Yeah. Let's see who's anchoring this team. It's going to be She-Hulk, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, we hope.
What about Deadpool and Wolverine? I mean, were they? Wolverine was an Avenger.
Deadpool at some point, it seems, from this movie.
See,
maybe Wolverine, or maybe they're bringing a version of the X-Men in. Yeah, but it's definitely not the big names that we're used to.
Let's see. Was Deadpool ever an Avenger?
Sam Wilson's Captain America is going to be. Oh yeah, in the comic books, everything has happened. Absolutely everything has happened in the comic books.
In the comics, Deadpool has also joined Hydra's version of the Avengers and the Avengers Unity Division.
Yeah. And probably in the X-Men at some point, and also in X-Force, and God knows how many other teams.
What is this? Deadpool's newfound popularity forced him to leave his family behind, fearing his enemies could endanger them. Deadpool additionally joined the Avengers Unity Division and used his popularity as a means of funding the team with the profit from the merchandise. What? Oh, well. All right.
Sounds comic booky to me.
Yeah, right. John Phillips. John, I was actually wondering about this. He said, "Did you see how much the Russos and Robert Downey Jr." I keep almost saying Ronnie James Dio. Ronnie. See, I did it. There it was. Damn it! I talked myself into it. so he said that the Russos are getting 80 million and for the Avenger stuff, and Robert Downey Jr. is getting 100 million. Wow. Kale says,
how much is your integrity worth? Yeah.
Kale says, personal opinion, but Robert Downey Jr. should not be making more than the Russos. Yeah, Kale, you know how I kind of look at that? It's almost like the sound guy getting paid more than the band. Isn't it? You're like, okay, I get it. Like, you make it sound good and all that, but you're not up here singing or playing the guitar solos or sweating your nuts off. Like, you know, and I've had shows like that. And I get, our sound guy is amazing, but I'm not going to lie, that hasn't like burned my ass a little bit. Like, damn it, this is not fair. So, but
I think that's pretty much the template, isn't it? As far as I know, directors like never make more than the top talent.
I mean,
now these dollar amounts are just egregious, but hey, still whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm not paying it. I'm paying $14.25 to Cinemark. So
exactly. Well, it'll be like 17 something by then for the 3D, since we're going to go see it in 3D. But nothing. No complaints about 3D.
Listen, fucker. All right, if I could go all stabby or shoot you in the face right now, that's what I would do. All
3D is awesome, man. Get over it. It's awesome. I just hope they keep putting out the physical product so I can keep adding to my collection. Because having all this stuff in 3D is great. But they didn't put, like, there's some of them they did put out in 3D in theaters, but they didn't put out 3D Blu-rays for, which kind of sucks. But
it's,
oh well.
Dude, no one's got that TV anymore. No one gives a shit about 3D. Okay?
I do.
Why don't you go hang on to your HD DVD and your Betamax before that, okay?
Hey, look, if it does finally become obsolete, these things may become collector's items. Did you know, for example...
It already did like 10 years ago.
Okay, but they're still selling them. So, I mean, come on.
They're still selling cassettes, too.
Oh, look, man, I got Avatar Way of Water in 3D, and it's amazing. So, and you can't tell me that Avatar in 3D isn't the better way to watch it, because it's unbelievable. If you tell me otherwise...
That franchise made its name on 3D, so yeah, you're right.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, I mean, dude, so apparently The Last Jedi is like impossible to find, so I think it's worth over $100. So at least I'm sitting on that.
Damn.
So, you know, yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. But
and then The Rise of Skywalker, they pay you $100. Or at least they should.
Probably so. Orbex in 3D. Son of a bitch. Jeez, man. All right, well, that's going to do it for another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Obviously, Kale, great to see you. John Phillips, John Godfrey, Cousin Chris, great to see you, as always, man. Rocketman137, Sean Hines, great to see you, Vandalorian. Yeah, we are back. What's the date going to be? I always get confused, like, near the end of the month.
That is going to be August 14th.
August, okay. So, Kale, what's next? Deadpool on VHS? I think that one's a little too dead. But, yeah, so we're going to be back here, guys, on Wednesday, August 14th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you jump on and tune in and check that out. As always, guys, we are brought to you by Audible. Go to audibletrial.com/NHC for your 30-day trial and a free audiobook download. If you'd like to get customizable Nerf Herder Council swag, go to shop.nerfherdercouncil.com. And if you'd like to get virtual Cantina Network gear, just go to tpublic.com/user/virtual-cantina. AJ, I believe you have some stuff that you want to get off your chest before we hit the road.
I do, actually. So, yeah, we did the Loki Season 1 watch-along, and it turns out that when you upload more frequently, YouTube really likes that. So we got in front of a lot of eyeballs. If that's something that you guys like, then absolutely hit us up, nerfherdercouncil@gmail.com, or on our Twitter feed or anywhere you find us. What are we going to watch next? Because I certainly don't mind doing it. I just want to make sure that we're watching something y'all want to see. So yeah, let's get another one of those going for sure. And also, for anyone who tuned into our Patreon feed, we are live on Patreon now since I cracked that little nut. So you can always go to patreon.com/NHC podcast. We post all of our episodes there now live, and then also we will post early access if you pay us a little bit of money for the audio version, or it also comes out simultaneously on Sundays as it does in any of your podcatching apps. So you can do that either way. But yeah, we want to do more uploads. We just want to know we're doing stuff that you guys want to see. So anything that you have in mind that you'd like to do a watch along for, or a game night or something like that, let us know, man, because I have a ton of fun with that stuff. So I just want to know what's put out there, and I'm basically at your service, which is a very awkward way to leave off a Deadpool episode, but that's all I got to say.
Hey, Sammy Hagar put out a great live record called At Your Service, so it's a good reference. Yeah, and I'll probably be a part of those more often, at least in the winter when the band schedule slows down and I'm not worried about being out of town all the time. So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind jumping in on that and, doing that with you. So, yeah, if you guys have any ideas, you can either, shoot us a direct message on Facebook or just shoot us an email, nerfherdercouncil@gmail.com. Nice and simple. So,
I have an idea. I'd like to finish this Lego set at some point. So.
I don't know. I don't know how you have the patience to not do that. I couldn't let it just
out of
sit
sight,
there,
out of mind, brother.
Well, I mean, I got to admit, and I'm not just saying this because, I'm one of the co-hosts of the show. I've told you this off air a lot. He said, stuttering. I like the Lego build episodes. I think they're interesting. And so, I think you should do one of those again. I thought it was cool. So, all right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of the Nerf Herder Council. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, click that like button, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, do all that fun stuff. And again, guys, we will see you on Wednesday, August 14th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So until next time, I am your host, JT at Dog Pound Jedi. He is AJ.
At Drake Adams 579.
And guys, we will catch you next time.
Bucket of bolts is never gonna get us past that blockade.
This bucket's got a few surprises left in her. Plus, me and Chewie are on it. Ain't that right, Chewie?
Hell yeah, you my Nerf herder.
You my Nerf herder.